We're coming to you from Houston Media Source, and thanks for joining us on this chilly evening. It's the couple of nights before Halloween, so we've got a few scary stories for you about the war on drugs and what's happening. And it's also several days before election night, so we hope that everyone's a little bit informed about where you can vote, how you can vote, if you're registered or not. And we'll let you know a little bit more about some local elections here, so maybe you can make a better decision for yourself. With me tonight is one of our usual co-hosts, Clay Jones.
Good evening.
And we'll start the show with some pretty interesting ballot initiatives that are happening around the country.
There's quite a few, medical marijuana ballots. There's one in Massachusetts, and there's one in Michigan. Both states, the people that are fighting against it are wonderful, illustrious DEA agent John Walters, and the district attorneys are coming out against it. They're saying that it's going to affect our children. But in the 12 states that have medical marijuana already, the abuse of marijuana by children of school age has decreased in every state that has voted in medical marijuana. Medical marijuana has never been voted down in any state, and I don't expect it to happen in Michigan or Massachusetts. And this is a good call-in program. If you call in with your questions, we would love to hear from you.
And we'll have the number up shortly. But something that I've been noticing with some of these ballot initiatives is, whereas the campaigns for medical marijuana acts have, they start in January up until November, and they'll be campaigning and garnering grassroots support and getting as much support as they can financially and by all the citizens that they can. What happens is at the end, and you can actually see the kind of the budgetary figures. They'll be pulling in figures and pulling in money for the entire campaign, whereas the opponents will only start up within the last couple of months, and they'll slam whatever city it is with all these anti-marijuana ads, all these propaganda campaigns and everything, and just completely blast all these lies into whatever city or area it is. Fortunately, in Michigan, they've got some pretty nice numbers there. It's something like 67% agree with it. We'll see how the actual numbers pull out at the end of the day, but I think it's at least 5 cities: Flint in 2007, Traverse City and Ferndale in 2005, and Ann Arbor and Detroit in 2004. Medical marijuana ballot initiatives won there by a landslide. So we'll see what happens there, but it's the Michigan Coalition for Compassionate Care, and it's Proposal 1. If anyone has any friends out in Michigan, or if anyone wants to donate to the cause, I don't have their exact website here, but you can certainly look up Michigan Coalition for Compassionate Care.
.org.
Okay, and I'm not sure if that's the actual website, but you can certainly Google it. Yeah. So they're trying to create, a registry of patients and a system of ID cards so people can identify whether or not they have legitimate prescription and everything.
But then again, if you get into the regular prescription ID cards, Denver is having a problem. They're actually targeting people that are patients on marijuana to get them a part of the drug courts.
Yeah.
They say they're not going after criminals anymore. They're targeting more of the patients than they are criminals for the drug courts. The numbers have gone up. More people are going to jail that are involved in drug courts than before.
Mm-hmm.
There seemed to be more of a failure.
Yeah, didn't it say something that drug courts are less of a deterrent and are actually criminalizing, nonviolent and patients and...
Right. There's more people going to jail. There's more harm done with drug courts than not. They're making judges into parents, guardians.
I think cheerleaders is one of the terms.
Cheerleaders is one of the terms.
Yeah.
We can end all this problems by legalizing it. All the problems on the border that we're having, the wars that are coming into Las Vegas. There's been a couple of one child that was abducted out of Las Vegas, and it's happening more and more and more, and it's really not understandable because all this could be one quick swoop. It could be over because if you stop the illegal market, there's no need for the cartels.
Right, and in fact, a study came out that, as the headline is, marijuana could be a gusher of cash if it were treated like a crop, not a crime. And actually, a 2005 study by Harvard economics professor Jeffrey Miron, he made some conservative projections. You know, we've heard so many different numbers ranging from, I guess the average is, it's a 40 billion, or like basically the war on drugs, or the drug market is a $40 billion industry. Right. But estimates could be anywhere from several different sources, range from the lowest of 10.5 billion to 113 billion. So, and then, you know, that's just how much the drug industry worldwide, how lucrative it is. But then, you know, some policy analysts and economists say that it can range, if we were to tax and regulate, could range from 2.4 billion to 31.1 billion in revenue, which is amazing, and about 1/3 of that would go to individual states.
Now,
so
California last year, the marijuana community paid in sales tax to the state of California $100 million in 1 year, and that's with an infancy of the industry. It's just starting to come on board. Now, if California can raise $100 million in taxes, lower the abuse by underage children, regulate to keep more people out of prison, out of the jail system, it's a win-win situation.
Definitely. I mean, there's so much, I guess, money that could be made in our suffering economy off of this. You know, some people are predicting that, oh, well, with this upcoming election and with how much our economy is suffering, how many, trillions of dollars in debt we are, that this will just be a non-issue because it is such a lucrative industry for anyone. Estimates are like anywhere from $100 million to $200 million for revenues and state taxes just from this market alone.
Yes.
So the study was called The Budgetary Implications of Marijuana Prohibition. But I wanted to move on to another excellent ballot initiative. And if anyone, once again, we'd like to remind our callers, if anyone would like to call in, the number's at the bottom of the screen. If you have any more information, or if you'd like to ask any questions, or even just rant a little bit with us, that would certainly be nice. We definitely appreciate your calls and appreciate talking to you out there. But in California, which has been one of the forefronts in the movement for ending the war on drugs, the Nonviolent Offender Rehabilitation Act is an excellent proposition. Of the few things it does, it will cut state costs by essentially establishing and trying to eliminate recidivism in the state. They're basically trying to push more treatment and more rehabilitation as opposed to just flat-out arrest and incarceration. That way we'll ease the problems of prison overcrowding by investing in drug treatment, which costs much less than prison. And then, especially for nonviolent offenders and youth offenders. So who supports Proposition 5? Let's see, the League of Women Voters of California, the Consumer Federation of California, California Nurses Association, California Society of Addiction Medicine, the California Federation of Teachers, and so many more. But who opposes it? The Campaign Against Proposition 5, which their website is prop5yes.com. But who opposes this is the State Prison Guards Union. Now, why? State Prison Guards Union, why would they oppose that? They're spending $2 million for deceptive television ads, which we were talking about earlier, which just are mostly propaganda, mostly not based on facts. Listen to anything that comes out of John Walter's mouth. It's mostly propaganda and lies. He can't even listen to his own figures. When they come out, he's misquoting himself. But they're obviously going to benefit from it. That's what's paying their salaries almost. But they benefit from having overcrowded prisons because it creates, I guess, new jobs for state guards.
Just makes sense to decriminalize marijuana. In Massachusetts, by decriminalizing 1 ounce of marijuana is estimated to save the state of Massachusetts $30 million in court costs a year alone. I mean, as this recession gets worse, we're just going to keep hearing of all these numbers that are just going to keep slapping them in the face and telling them that it's wrong. It's just downright wrong to arrest somebody who uses this stuff as medicine.
Right. I mean, it's just absolutely against your constitutional liberties, your civil liberties, your rights as a human being to access any medicine that your doctor may see fit. But we were talking about John Walters a little bit ago, and he's one of my favorite people. Actually, you brought up this article he's got a Pinocchio nose on, and he's addressing, I guess it's, not sure who he's addressing, but you've got an interesting story here about something about unicorns and his lies.
Let me read this here. Like the Energizer Bunny, drug czar John Walters' lies just keep coming. It was only a month ago when the czar made a fool of himself on cable television, denying the fact that law enforcement has arrested 800,000 plus individuals on park charges each year. The FBI 2008 Uniform Crime Report, released just days ago after John Walters' absurd denial, showed that the police made a record 872,721 marijuana arrests in 2007. Walters further embarrassed himself by claiming that the likelihood of finding a marijuana smoker in prison or jail for pot possession is like finding a unicorn. A claim that is readily rebutted by the U.S. Department of Justice own data, as well as by a startling number of former unicorns who wrote the Normal, telling about their problem.
I guess we've got a few unicorns in here. I mean, I think that's pretty absurd. He basically said that there are no people in jail who have been arrested for a pot conviction, whereas we know that this is one of the, I don't know if it's a significant majority, but I know that it's definitely a large number of people. What is it? 872,000. That's right, marijuana arrests.
Right here in Houston right now, I know a young lady that she was stopped for a registration on a car. It ended up they got her for a gram of marijuana in her pocket. She went to probation, paid her fine, but she tested dirty the last time she went. And a policeman pulled up behind her, and she's in Harris County right now since the 21st of the month. And she went to court today until a continuance of November 7th with no bond. No bond up until today, and today they gave her a $25,000 bond because she tested dirty.
And what was the initial arrest for?
She got stopped for having an expired registration.
And a gram or
she had a gram of marijuana in her pocket.
So a gram in her pocket and a dirty UA. That's ridiculous. $25,000 bonds. And how long in jail now?
She's been there since
weeks?
the 21st of the month.
Oh, my gosh.
8 days.
Right.
And now she got a continuance until November 7th.
And you know, the unfortunate part about this is not a unique story by any means.
No.
We have so many cases of individuals like this being put in the worst of circumstances for a nonviolent act. We're going to have to take a break right now. We hope to see you back here after our commercial.
Hello, welcome to MPP TV. I'm Noah Brzezinski with the Marijuana Policy Project. This is our first ever marijuana policy presidential candidate video voters guide. On November 4th, the United States will elect its 44th president. In this video, we will show you some of the statements made by the candidates on issues related to marijuana policy. In 2004, Barack Obama said the following regarding the war on drugs.
In terms of legalization of drugs, I think that the battle, the war on drugs has been an utter failure, and I think that we need to rethink and decriminalize our marijuana laws. But I'm not somebody who believes in legalization of marijuana. What I do believe is that we need to rethink how we are operating in the drug wars, and I think that currently we are not doing a good job.
And while Senator Obama, the Democratic nominee, has backed off considerably from that position regarding decriminalization, he has been candid about his own past use.
I have to ask this question. Remember, Senator, you are under oath. Did you inhale?
Well, you know, I was telling somebody asked this question. I said that was the point.
On medical marijuana, Obama said the following in Iowa last year.
My attitude is, if the science and doctors suggest that the best palliative care, the best way to relieve pain and suffering is through medical marijuana, then that's something that I'm open to. Because there's no difference between that and morphine when it comes to just giving people relief from pain. But I want to do it under strict guidelines. I want to make sure that it is prescribed in the same way that other painkillers or palliative drugs would be prescribed.
In response to a question about how, as president, he would approach the issue of arresting medical marijuana patients, the senator has been upfront.
I would not have the Justice Department prosecuting medical marijuana. It's not a good use of our resources.
An Obama spokesperson has also said that Obama supports the rights of states and local governments to make this choice, though he believes medical marijuana should be subject to U.S. Food and Drug Administration regulation, like other drugs. Republican nominee Senator John McCain has been quite clear about his opposition to medical marijuana. He is in no way supportive of its use medicinally, but he has told individuals on the campaign trail he does not advocate or support federal raids that involve the arresting of actual medical marijuana patients.
I'm just really scared if I'm going to be put in jail for trying to keep weed on my body or using it for medicine.
Well, sir, I just want to assure you I'll do everything in my power to make sure that you will never have the threat of that happening to you. You shoot every shred of evidence that I have, including talking to the best minds in America, to say that there are many other ways to relieve pain and suffering, and I would be glad to look into your particular case.
Next is former Congressman Bob Barr, the Libertarian nominee for president. Congressman Barr has recently become outspoken on the issue of the federal war on drugs and made the following comments in a June 2008 interview with Mob TV.
Why should libertarians believe you now?
Government has taken so much power and is exercising so much power over our lives in an unprecedented degree that it's caused myself and I think a lot of other Americans to sit down and say, you know, let's hold on just a minute here. So what 9/11 and the way government has taken power to itself in such an unprecedented manner since 9/11 has in fact caused me to go back and take a very hard look at a number of areas such as the drug war and medicinal marijuana in particular that I was willing to let government regulate and let government control in years past, but we can't do it any longer. And the job of myself as Libertarian nominee for the presidency is to address these issues not as emotional issues. It's not about people using pot. It is the issue of whether or not we want a federal government that is so powerful and so pervasive that it can go into your home and tell you what you should be doing in the privacy of your own home.
Independent candidate Ralph Nader has been outspoken over the years on his positions with regard to marijuana and the war on drugs. In an interview with the Drug War Chronicle in 2004, candidate Nader declared, quote, "Marijuana is the drug that should most clearly be brought into a system of regulation and taxation. It is less dangerous than drugs like alcohol and tobacco as far as addiction and death. Regulation and taxation would provide greater control over purity, potency, labeling, health warnings, and age restrictions than the ineffective current war on marijuana approach." Former Congresswoman Cynthia McKinney is the Green Party nominee for president. According to the Green Party's official website, the 2008 Green Party platform includes the following plank. "We, the Green Party, call for decriminalization of victimless crimes, for example, the possession of small amounts of marijuana. We call for legalization of industrial hemp and all its many uses. We call for an end to the war on drugs. We support expanded drug counseling and treatment." We hope you consider yourself a little better informed on the issue. I'm Noah Brzezinski with the Marijuana Policy Project. For more information about marijuana, prohibition, and legalization, please check our website, MPP-TV, at tv.mpp.org. Thanks for watching.
You're watching the Drug, Crime, and Politics show. I need less business. Help change the laws. Fewer people locked up for this foolishness will help all of us.
Good evening, and thanks for joining us here at Drugs, Crime, and Politics, your local news for everything drug war and other spooky things. With me here is our co-host Clay Jones, and I'm Bindu Nair. Right now, we wanted to talk a little bit about some of the local elections and some candidates, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Oh, let's talk about this one that's really irking me.
Who's that?
Senator Stevens.
Oh.
Senator Stevens was just convicted for conspiracy, corruption,
misuse of
all
funds,
kinds of things. He's a convicted felon. Even though that he now is putting in an appeal, he's not really a convicted felon. He's an almost convicted felon. So that says he can run for the U.S. Senate, but he can't vote next election.
He won't be able to vote for
but
himself.
But he can run for senator. This just shows the glaring disregard, I feel, for the middle class, the elites of our country, these congressmen, these senators, these politicians. They leave themselves an out. There's an out for big business. There's always an out for policemen that suffocate somebody because he's drunk walking down the road going home quietly. I think that happened in Pasadena.
Mm-hmm.
No charges.
Actually,
we as a people need to start speaking up. Whoever our new representative is here in my district, I hope that when we get our new representative, you call Virginia quite frequently.
Now, I think you're talking about, let's remind our viewers, you're talking about specifically in your district, Virginia McDavid versus Dwayne Bohack.
Bohack.
Dwayne Bohack's the incumbent Republican
who's been voted as one of the 20 worst politicians in our state.
And that's a pretty big award, because this is a state of pretty corrupt and pretty bad politicians, so
Yes.
it's time to get the good ones in there. Now, Virginia McDavid has actually been on the show, and she had some pretty positive things to say about drug policy reform. Is that correct?
Yes, she wants to end the drug war. She is behind medical marijuana. She's behind needle exchange. And we need both. We are the #1 medical area in the world with our medical center. We have people coming in from all over the world. We all know that marijuana does work when it comes to chemotherapy, comes to being sick, having spasms, having multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's,
AIDS, wasting disease,
HIV.
glaucoma.
It works for so many things, but yet we have this antiquated people that are supposed to be our representatives, when I believe the last survey that was done in Texas, which was done in 2006 for the legislative session, our last legislative session, and it was 73% of Texans were in favor of medical marijuana for people who needed it. We need to really look at these candidates that are running for these offices and put the questions to them that we are interested in, what we want relief on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we need to start making our basis of decisions.
Definitely. Now let's broaden the umbrella a little bit. Another contested and hopefully widely voted on race is Mike Skelly versus John Culverson. John Culverson, once again an incumbent for many years, adamant about the drug war. Both Clay and I have spoken to him individually about the drug war. This guy is the slickest of slicksters. He's literally, I feel like he is a magician. He's like showing red cups. Look at the cups, but don't listen to what I'm saying. Don't look at the man behind the curtain here. So actually, funny story, I guess. We went into his office, and
this was
after
2 days before the
2 days before Hurricane Ike, after seeing him speak at the medical center and saying in front of a room full of hundreds of medical experts, scientists, researchers, physicians, when Clay asked about medical marijuana, he said, "Oh, well, no one's a medical expert here. Nobody knows if that's, good or if it's good or bad for you." In a room full of medical experts, he said, "There's no medical experts here. Nobody's done any significant research on this." So we took it upon ourselves to go and learn him a few things. Took a lot of information to his office, and basically
he had a toothache and a migraine headache. You can
after seeing us
know how much attention he paid to us.
Right, exactly. You think he had that before or after he saw us?
I think he had
started after he saw us.
No, I think he had it because we were coming there.
Yeah, he must have known. But the problem is, basically this guy has tried to evade any type of opportunistic conversation or any type of real conversation about medical marijuana. He knows that it's right. His mother knows that it's right. She's an excellent, awesome lady, and she's talked about it and tried to tell him how many people are sick and dying and how many people need it and how many doctors shouldn't be facing prosecution charges because they feel that it's a viable medicine that people should be allowed to have. And yet he still declines to comment specifically on it. His basic rhetoric is that, oh, well, if we can take away, he's basically saying that we should make it a states' rights issue, and then we should create a federal bill that would take away federal rights to impose upon any state's rights. So he's basically saying that he wants us to write a bill that will say, oh, no federal politician can have
anything other to do than what is actually written in the Constitution.
In the Constitution, and have no...
Right, and he expected us to go get a bill started
that
would say, all you politicians, all your power is
All
gone.
your power is gone, and you're all out of
We
business.
all know that's why they get in that position, is because they're egomaniacs that love the power.
Yeah, exactly. So that's John Culberson versus Mike Skelly. Mike Skelly, I believe, has already stated that he is against the war on drugs. He's for drug policy reform.
He is for drug policy reform.
So please vote for him. He is an excellent businessman. Not as charismatic as Jim Henley, but excellent candidate. We've got a couple more people to talk about, but at this time, we'd like you guys to view a few messages out there, and we'll return to you shortly.
And take care of your munchies.
Transition.
Yeah. It's Good evening and welcome back to Drugs, Crime, and Politics, hosted by Drug Policy Forum of Texas. We're talking here about the war on drugs and everything related, local candidates, federal candidates. If you'd like to call in, you're more than welcome. The number is intermittently posted at the bottom of the screen. And it looks like we've got a caller. Let's go ahead and take that. Hi, welcome to Drugs, Crime, and Politics.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes?
Yeah, hi. You're on the air.
Oh, thank you very much. A minute ago, y'all were just talking about Ted Stevens, and he was actually found guilty of 7 counts of making a false statement. Now, if all politicians were held to that, I don't know which politician, has never made a false statement.
Right.
They could serve their elected term and then serve their sentence. But that's not why I called you. Y'all had been talking about ballot initiatives in this upcoming election, and I wanted to read to you 3 lines of current law and then get your interpretation.
Sure. Which state are you referring to? Texas or?
Actually, this is Article 6, Section 5 of the Texas Constitution.
Okay.
Okay? And the boldface print says, privilege of voters from arrest. Voters shall, in all cases, except treason, felony, or breach of the peace, be privileged from arrest during their attendance at elections and in going to and returning therefrom.
Did you say it at elections? Going to and returning therefrom?
That's correct.
Okay.
Your thoughts on that?
All right, thank you so much.
When we go to the polls to pick our sheriff.
Oh, right. Exactly. We were just about to touch on that. Thank you so much for the call. That's an excellent bit of a statement from the Constitution, but basically all it is protecting you when you're voting. And so, except for treason, felony, or reason of peace. And I think that's pretty nice, especially with how many journalists have been arrested recently, especially at the RNC, even at the DNC. Amy Goodman had coverage and herself, her cameramen, and women getting arrested. One of them getting cuts on their face, a little bit brutalized, etc. But that's just one case out of so many. And it's pretty interesting when you're at a peaceful protest and you are getting arrested and pepper sprayed by police. I mean, I guess it's not interesting. It's pretty ridiculous. But I guess one of the charges that you can be faced with is intervention in police activities. But as far as voting goes, I'm glad that there actually is something in the Constitution, in the Texas state Constitution, that says that not only do we have a right to vote, but we have a right to do so peacefully, and we have a right to not be barred from it. We have a right not to be arrested in trying to do so.
But I understand that both parties, the Democrats and the Republicans, are working to make some people uneligible.
Oh, yeah.
Florida, if you have a felony, you cannot vote until you're off of paper.
That's actually in several states.
There's 2 states that if you are a felon, you are removed from the rolls forever.
Kentucky and Virginia. It looks like we've got a caller, so let's get to them. Hi, welcome to Drugs, Crime, and Politics.
Hello, Brendan. This is Dean.
Dean,
hey,
good
Dean.
evening. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Is that Buford there with you?
No, he's not.
Clay and myself.
Oh, Clay. Hello, Clay.
How you doing?
I'm good. Yeah, I wanted to share some information I gathered over the last few days with you guys.
Sure.
We had Judge James P. Gray came to town on Monday, spoke at Rice University, but Judge Gray invited me to come visit with him. We filmed some video in his hotel there, and then we went with him to, as he taught a class at Rice University, and that same morning went to lunch with him and a bunch of other good...
Uh-oh. Hello?
Dean, you better call back.
Yeah, looks like his phone cut out, unfortunately, or something happened. We'll just try to get him back. Yeah. He's not there. Just, I guess, try to call back. But Dean has been pretty active lately. That's excellent that he got to trail Judge Gray. Hopefully we'll get to see some of that footage on some of our PSAs here. Also, I believe he was at a University of Houston Students for Sensible Drug Policy event on Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken, which was called Marijuana 101. And I'd just like to give a shout out, say congratulations to the U of H SSDP. They have been so underground and yet so active. In fact, last Wednesday, they passed the Good Samaritan policy on their campus, which basically entails students will, face any fear of prosecution if they call 911 in alcohol or drug-related emergencies. In Cornell University alone, after this Good Samaritan Act was passed, 911 calls doubled in these types of emergencies, and in this case, people's lives can be saved. So, good luck to U of H SSDP, and their website is uhssdp.com. Looks like we've got Dean back on the phone. Dean, is that you?
It is me. Dang
Right.
Cell phones, I don't know what to say.
I know, technology.
Yes, I don't know where the discussion cut off. You know how that is. You realize a little bit late, but I went with Judge Gray. He taught a class at Rice University. Then we went to lunch with Professor Bill Martin, Jerry Epstein, Susie Wills, and a lot of others that have an interest in the policy of drug reform. And then that evening, Judge Gray gave a panel there at the James A. Baker III Institute for Policy Studies at Rice University, very prestigious venue. Several of the drug warriors were invited to attend. There were seats on the front row with reserved signs on them.
Very nice.
And the signs never had to be moved. because the drug warriors did not show up. I filmed that as well, and the next morning I went to this venue because our drug czar, John Walters, was speaking. I captured some video from that as well. The first question he took was from Judge James P. Gray. Judge Gray was not allowed to be on the panels with the drug warriors, but he did get to one question. The question was to ask Mr. Walters if he was a Federalist. In other words, was he willing to let the 50 states act as independent laboratories to determine for themselves what is the best medical practices for their people? And immediately John Walters said, of course I'm a Federalist, and then he rambled on for about 5 to 7 minutes about how adults are not to be trusted and that it is necessary that in this one instance for marijuana, it's necessary for the federal government to stay involved and to exclude the states from making that decision. I'm proud that today on the Cultural Baggage Show I had Amanda Fielding. She is the director of the Beckley Foundation. She is Lady Needpath, if you will. She submits things to Parliament. Her group, the Beckley Foundation, releases reports in regards to, there was the latest, the cannabis report.
Right, that was a 10-year study.
Yes, issued just earlier this month. They also released a report that was covered extensively around the world, rating the dangers of the various drugs and their properties. And we talked about that. We talked about the fact that LSD and MDMA are beginning to be studied again properly, as they should have been over the last 35 years when they were excluded because some hippies got a hold of them at some point and everybody freaked out. And we talked about her association with Sasha and Ann Shulgin, Sasha being perhaps the world's most famous chemist creating new psychedelic products. And we talked about, well, many things, but I'll tell you this. She sounded to me much like she's a member of law enforcement against prohibition, to be honest. And this is a very dignified, if I can't think of a better word, hoity-toity British lady who has come to the same conclusion as these, cops and prosecutors who spent time in the trenches of the drug war. The evidence is there. It's obvious. It's glaring. It's waiting for us to make use of it. It's waiting for us to stand up and speak up and just make the change happen. I will have that show with Lady Needpath available on my website by tomorrow morning.
Okay.
My website is drugtruth.net. And starting next week, you can hear my radio programs on KPFT Radio here in Houston. That's at 90.1 FM. The shows, the 2 half-hour shows, air on Tuesdays and Wednesdays from 11:30 a.m. to noon. And I see great things on the horizon. I think we're going to see a major sweeping out of the Republican judges here in Harris County. I think we're going to see a shift that will allow people to speak of that need for change. And if Clarence Bradford gets elected, he's promised to come back on my radio show and tell us how he really feels about the drug war.
That's right. He said he's going to blow your audience away.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear it.
Well, if he's of the same thought that we are, we need him to speak out and speak out loudly.
Well, he's trying to get elected first.
Right.
And again, I spent time, in the hallways there at the James A. Baker Institute, and I ran into the treatment practitioners. I ran into people that work for the county. This whole thing was put together under the auspices of the Harris County and their involvement with the DEA. And this was a DEA ONDCP SAMHSA convention, really, is what this was all about. And
like a trifecta of evil.
and the people I met in the hallway, I introduced them and kind of chatted them up a bit and then said, yeah, I'm a member of LEAP. Have you heard of us? And they would say, well, no. And I'd say, well, we're a group of current and former cops that have come to the conclusion the drug war is a failure. And we're working to provide new directions to end the funding of Osama bin Laden, to destroy the cartels. And people, we do need to do something like that. And I think the problem is it parallels the situation where the general populace was surveyed by Zogby International a few weeks back. and they determined 76% of Americans think the drug war is a failure. Now, contained within that number, there are some who think we need to work harder and arrest more people, I guess. But in one fashion or another, the majority of American people see it as a failure. And I think what we have to do is realize that in the officialdom, in the elected officials and the appointees and so forth, and those even working in the treatment centers, they realize it's not working.
Right.
We need a better solution, but they can't speak up because you guys, I'm sure, will concur, this has become a topic of heresy to speak of that need for change. You want crack machines in the junior high being the most obvious comeback, but people just don't want to face that situation. And it's thanks to the work of good folks like you and me trying to educate the people to the full truth of this matter that soon people will be able to more easily speak up, to put in their 2 cents, to cut through the bull and bring this to a conclusion. And I appreciate the work you guys do, appreciate the chance to talk to your audience.
Well, we definitely appreciate you, Dean. We hope to get some of that footage from Judge James P. Gray.
Oh, you will, and I've got some stuff from the normal conference, and
that's right.
We have some good footage coming your way.
Excellent.
Dean.
Yes.
Massachusetts and Michigan, their big knock on decriminalizing an ounce of marijuana is that it's going to affect the children. It's going to make the children be more susceptible to becoming drug addicts. What do you say about that?
They reach the bottom of the barrel. They've clawed through the bottom of the barrel. They try to create fear and, just trepidation in any way they can. The current situation means if you want marijuana, you ask one of your kids who's enrolled in high school.
Right.
Because they have the easiest access of all. And the fact is there are, groups that stand to lose greatly and forever if their, their officialdom is negated. In other words,
their cash cow.
If their cash cow is killed. Very good, Clay. And we have to realize that they will fight forever to...
It's their bread and butter. It's their job.
Right.
It's how they feed their family.
Well, who's opposing, Proposition 5 in California, prison guards?
Prison guards. I mean, we've had the guards of Texas protesting our bills that we've had into our state legislation.
And they only get $20,000 a year. Out in California, it's over $100,000.
Right.
Oh my.
And we have to realize, whether it's the drugs are, and wait till you see and hear the video of him just trying to justify what he's up to. He never has to face a legitimate question, and when he does, he just, you're absolutely right. And I want to tell you a story about a kid I met at a treatment center who was so glad we arrested him. That's all they have is just this redirection of any question, never answering the point being made.
And isn't it amazing? Only 1,700 people die a year from illegal overdose.
Right. Aspirin and Tylenol kill more like 1,400 to 2,000 per year.
Right. Well, Dean, thank you so much for calling in. We appreciate all the amazing knowledge and insight that you've put to the drug war.
Well, look, I just want to relay something. I've been doing the pitch drive at KPFT,
That's right.
And the thing I tell everybody is write a 50-word paragraph. Send it off to your state and federal legislators, the senators, the governor, the mayor, the attorney general. Send it to your police chief and your sheriff. Let them know how you feel. Send a copy to your local paper. Because until they hear from you, they think you agree with this. And it's time to tell them you don't agree.
That's an excellent point.
All right.
Thank you so much, Dean.
Thanks, Dean. Have a good night.
All right, well, you heard it, folks. That's Dean Becker. You can be heard on the radio after this week, after the pledge drive from KPFT is over. 90.1, 11:30, and the 420 report. He brought up a lot of interesting points, and the thing about John Walters, it's just he and John Culberson may be related because, evading questions, lie quotas. Well, it looks like we have to take a short break, but we'll come back to you with more information on what you can do to fight the war on drugs and be more informed in society.
It's time to play Name That Drug by its side effects. Unexplained rapid weight gain, trouble breathing, unusual fatigue, fast pounding heartbeat, changes in menstrual cycles, dark urine, persistent nausea, vomiting, chills, cold sweat, dizziness, drowsiness, shaking, and confusion, and fruity breath odor. Time's up. The answer, Avandia for diabetics. Approved by the FDA.
This week in drug war history. October 30th, 1995. President Bill Clinton signs legislation passed by Congress rejecting a U.S. Sentencing Commission move to reduce penalties for crack cocaine offenses to bring them equal with powder cocaine. November 1st, 1968. The UK's Advisory Committee on Drug Dependence releases the Wooten Report, recommending that marijuana possession should not be a criminal offense. November 1st, 2002. Every prosecutor in the United States has sent a letter from the Office of National Drug Control Policy and the National District Attorneys Association, urging them to make prosecution of cannabis crimes a high priority and to fight efforts to ease drug laws. November 2nd, 1951. The Boggs Act nearly quadruples possession for all narcotics offenses and unscientifically lumps marijuana in with narcotic drugs. November 3rd, 2001. The DEA raids the Los Angeles Cannabis Resource Center, a medical marijuana distribution facility, arresting its president, Scott Emler. City officials condemn the raid at a press conference attended by more than 100 center members. This is Steve Nolan for the Drug Truth Network.
I'm sorry I nominated that person for a position.
Welcome back to Drugs, Crime, and Politics, hosted by Drug Policy Forum of Texas. Thank you so much for listening. We've been talking about so many things, from ballot initiatives to local elections. We're coming up here in a few days, and this is your one major way in the month of November in order to make a change. But Dean made an excellent suggestion. Write just a 50-word paragraph. How many words can you write down on a page about how much you hate the war on drugs, how much it's affecting your life, how much you think it's an absolutely ridiculous waste of taxpayer money and you don't want to have to pay for it anymore, whether it's with your money or with your liberties or with your sense of security. We don't want to have to pay for that anymore. So go ahead and just write something down, anything, stream of consciousness, send it off to your legislators, your local legislators, your police chiefs, anyone who will listen, local newspapers, and they say for every person who calls in or for every person who writes a letter, there's at least 1,000 more who feel the same way and who are thinking the same thing and just didn't have the courage to write. So stand up, have that courage to write, have that courage to make the call to your legislators, especially after this election. We'll have hopefully some kind of a Democratic majority, maybe even in Texas, and we'll really have the chance to make some kind of change and some kind of dent, at least like we've been trying to make in this war on drugs. One of the biggest major elections that has been mired in scandal in the city of Houston, Harris County, is the race for the district attorney's office up between Bradford and Lycos, Pat Lycos.
She has not been reviewed very high.
No, even as a judge, she was labeled incompetent as one of the incompetent judges. She's also been labeled as she doesn't listen to her panel. She doesn't listen to anything. She's very brisk with her decisions. And I don't know if I really want someone like that in the DA's office.
We got somebody who is a judge that has an incompetent rating, and they're going to run the whole department of who we're going to put in jail. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, that's like jumping right into the fire from the firing pan.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And Dean did an excellent interview, which he moderated the debate between district attorneys. And to me, honestly, it just sounded like Pat Lycos was doing the same thing, especially when it came to the issue of the Texas law that it was passed, I guess, almost a year ago by now, that says that misdemeanors, small amounts of possession, graffiti, street crimes are up to the discretion of the officer whether to arrest or not. She completely evaded the issue. Bradford, at least, I feel like he is willing to address these issues. He's been under fire a lot in the last few years as police chief. So he knows what kind of crime we're dealing with. He knows the recidivism rates. He knows how ridiculous and futile that this war on drugs is. So it'll be interesting to see who comes out the winner here.
Well, I think Bradford's running as a Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say anything bad about Republicans, but I sure think it's a good time to bring the Democrats in because we do need change.
Exactly. Someone brought up the question of Sheriff Tommy Thompson versus Adrian Garcia race. And I can't cite any specific examples because it's completely blanking my mind right now. But Tommy Thompson is just not a good guy.
He's supposed to be under investigation for his ranch offense, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. He's definitely been under investigation, if not now. And he's been in cahoots with, I don't know, Kelly Siegler or the Chuck Rosenthal. Yeah. So basically, not a good guy. He's running against
Kelly?
Yeah, exactly. Killer Kelly. Tommy Thompson is also running under the Republican ticket. Adrian Garcia has served before as something, and I apologize for this ignorance of candidates, but Adrian Garcia is running under the Democratic ticket. So those are the rundown of some of the local candidates around here. And you said that Bohack was someone that you had talked to? Dwayne Bohack?
Oh, I've gone in to see Dwayne Bohack several times. He says he feels for me, but he just can't quite reach. He would like to be behind us, but he just can't. I personally think it's more important for him to worry about his job than it is for him to worry about his constituents. His voting record isn't very good. He's voted against clean air. He's voted against teacher raises.
And his opponent, Virginia McDavid, has actually said that she disagrees with the war on drugs and would agree with needle exchange. So we've said it once, we'll say it again. This is the time to get out there, get off your duffs, and try to make that impact. And we've got someone who's on the phone right now. Hi, welcome to Drugs, Crime, and Politics.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, first of all, Garcia is currently a city councilman.
Okay,
I was wondering
thank you.
two things really quick.
Yeah.
If you could just, forgive my ignorance, but what does constitute a drug felony? And do arrest rates go down during this extended early election thing that we do now these days?
Arrest records for drugs?
Yeah, thank you for the call. I think he's referring to drug arrest, but for a felony marijuana conviction, I believe a misdemeanor is 2 ounces and under, and then over that is a felony conviction. And I think, once again, it may be up to the officer. As the law states, that was passed about a year ago. It's definitely under 2 ounces, and less than that is up to the officer's discretion, but it's also up to the district attorney whether or not they will choose to allow that law to be used. And so far, there has not been one county except for Travis County and perhaps another small one. Thanks for bringing that up. That's why the district attorney's office election is so important. We could bring that law into our city and have these minor, non-violent criminal offenses taken off the records. People would stop losing their jobs, stop losing, their...
Dwayne Bohack had said to me that the bill that for a quarter pound or less that they could write you a ticket and you would have to show up in court in 48 hours, he said that was going to be readdressed. That law was made so that it would cut down the expense of putting people in jail for minor drug offenses.
Well, it looks like we've got to wrap it up, so thank you so much for watching. This was Drugs, Crime, and Politics, and join us again 2 weeks from now.
policy of drug prohibition is hopeless. It is hopeless. It will never get better. Literally, victory today is being defined as slowing down the pace of defeat. We ought to listen to science and medicine when it comes to whether marijuana or any other substance has a medical benefit. We're really far into a program that has failed and failed every time.